This video is going to be more geared towards beginners in Call of Duty World War II. If you want to improve in Call of Duty World War II and you're finding this game like difficult to improve at and you're just like having a hard time getting good at this game, then I think this video may help you. A lot of these tips may be for like newer players. They're very basic. So if you're like a player who's been playing COD for several years, this may not be the video for you, but you may still pick something up from it, so I would appreciate it if you would continue watching. The first thing I'm going to say is that you should play to your weapon's engagement distance, and that you should find a weapon on the ground to swap it out for your pistol to find something that like complements your loadout by being good at what your primary is currently lacking in. For example, snipers are good at long range, assault rifles or rifles are good at medium to long range, shotguns are good at close range, LMGs are good at more of like defensive medium to long range. They're kind of like rifles, but they're just more like better at being defensive. Shotguns are good at close, and then SMGs are good at close to medium. So if you have like say an SMG and then you find a rifle on the ground, you might want to pick that up. That way you have something for longer distance engagements if you do have to get in any. It would be ideal if you play to only your weapon strengths, but it is nice to have like a backup weapon just in case you do get in a situation where you have to help out your team, or you just do get in a bad spot where you aren't like set up properly. Like if you're using a rifle and then someone comes up close, it would be nice if you could have an SMG to pull out that's sitting in your pocket. So if you find a weapon on the ground, pick it up if it complements your current weapon's like weaknesses, and then just be aware of what your weapon's ideal engagement distance is, and then try to play to that as much as possible. You need to use your grenades at this game. You spawn with a piece of equipment in your pocket no matter what, so you should take advantage of it. Look on your creative class and find out what nade you want to use and what nade would be like ideal for you. I see so many people going down and never using their grenade, and I'm not saying you should just throw it at nothing or just throw it randomly as soon as you spawn, but you should take advantage of your nade every life, because using it like every life and getting the most out of it will likely result in a lot of extra kills throughout the course of a game, and in some situations it'll likely keep you alive. If someone's has you pinned down and then you up killing them with a frag, that's likely a situation where you avoided a death there because you were probably going to die to them if you didn't have a grenade. There are a lot of head glitches in this game, so I often use my grenade just to kill people off of them rather than fighting people off the head glitch. If you're fighting someone who's on a head glitch, it's very hard to win because only their head is showing, but if you cook a grenade just perfect and it blows up right above their spot, it's a free kill and you really didn't have to do anything like difficult to do that. So I think you should learn what grenade you like using and then use it consistently in situations where you think it could help you rather. You need to pick a division that suits your playstyle. Divisions are something new in Call of Duty World War II, and it's basically just create a class. Each division has like a set of basic perks that it comes with as you level it up. So I'm going to go through the divisions quickly and then explain like what they're good for. Infantry is all about making your gun better, so if you like having a lot of attachments on your weapon, the infantry division is likely for you. Airborne is all about movement speed and being aggressive, so if you're someone who likes to rush, the airborne division is likely for you. Armored is all about being resistant to equipment, so you get things like resistant to fire, resistant to nades, resistant to tactical grenades. This is really for defensive players who like to control the map, or objective players in some game modes. If you like playing the objective a lot, the armored division is likely going to suit you well, because then you will take less damage from the grenades that people throw onto the flags. The mountain division is all about stealth, so if you're someone who likes to flank or just keep a low profile, the mountain division is probably a good one for you. And then the expeditionary division is all about equipment and nades. So if you're someone who likes playing, this is probably a good division for the objective game modes. If you like throwing grenades on the flags and such, you're going to be able to get more grenades, I believe, and then you're also going to be able to resupply grenades from dead enemies. So if you like using your equipment a lot, the expeditionary division is likely one for you. You should be limiting how many angles you're exposed to at a given time. For example, if you're in the middle of the map, you're generally going to be able to be shot from a full 360 degrees, like the circle. If you were to count the degrees on a circle, the full circle is 360. But if you play on the edges of the map, you're limiting how much you're exposed to because enemies can't exist on the out of bounds area. And then if you have teammates on a certain area, that's also limiting the angles you're exposed to. And then if you're using cover in some way, you're also limiting the angles you're exposed to. You should just navigate the map in such a way that you're generally limiting how many angles you're exposed to rather, because that like lessens the opportunity that you would get shot in a situation that you weren't prepared for. If you're aware of all the angles that you're exposed to, you're likely ready for all the fights that you could potentially get in. This is a very basic thing for any FPS games, but if you navigate the map in a way that limits how many angles you're exposed to, you'll generally lead to having a better like performance in game. I don't think you should stress about KD. A lot of players stress about KD and then they end up playing worse. Even if your goal is to have like a good KD, like a 2 or a 3 KD, just focus on becoming a better player and then that KD will come and like rise over time. If you're just super focused on the KD, you're probably going to stress out and play actually worse. Whereas if you just focus on learning the game and getting better at the game, your KD will rise over time. You should be looking at the minimap almost constantly. The minimap gives you a lot of information that a lot of players aren't taking advantage of. Not only does it tell you where enemies are when they shoot, or their locations when you have like a recon plane, it also shows you where your teammates are. which may not seem important right away. You're like, why would I need to know where my teammates are? But if where your teammates are is actually very important, because where your teammates are is where the enemies likely aren't. So if you have like a large cluster of teammates there, you don't really have to expect enemies from that location. And then likewise, if you see like one part of the map that just has no teammates on it for some reason, it's likely that the enemies are coming from there. If you see teammates die on the mini-map, you know someone had to kill them. So look at the skulls and like look at the mini-map, you see their arrow disappear. They just don't die randomly unless they fell off the map, and that the kill feed will tell you that. But so if someone dies on your team, it's very likely that someone had to kill them, so it's very likely that someone's in that area. So you could use that as like a mini UAV. Even if someone's using like a silencer and a perk that keeps them off the radar, you're going to know where they are because they're killing. You see your teammate disappear from the minimap. So just be constantly looking at the radar and getting information from it. So many players neglect the radar, and they're like only using it while they have a recon plane active. But really, you should be using it constantly because it gives you so much information about where your teammates are, and then that allows you to make better decisions about how you should be playing. If you are an aggressive player who likes to rush with SMGs, you should be using the Gunslinger basic training. This allows you to fire while sprinting, and more importantly, that reduces your sprint out time because you can shoot like right away as you're sprinting, and you don't have to wait until you're done sprinting to start shooting. If you're more of a medium range player, you should consider taking the primed basic training, which will make you flinch less. Flinching in these longer range gunfights can be pretty annoying because the target is quite small at range. But if you have primed, you're going to be flinching less, so you're going to be on target more in those gunfights. And if the enemy player like isn't using primed, that may just be what wins you the gunfight. Hipfire is really good in this game, so if you are an aggressive SMG player, you should definitely be taking advantage of the Hipfire, and you should run the steady aim attachment if you have room for it and if you really like hipfiring. I'm really enjoying the steady aim attachment, and I think it's quite like, it's kind of a joke how like good Hipfire is in this game. One of the last things you should do is worry about sound. Footsteps are way too loud in this game right now. I definitely think they should be toned down. And if you aren't using the mountain division, it's very likely you're going to be making noise when you run. But also the enemy players are going to be making noise when they run. So you can take advantage of that. If you hear a player sprinting around, you can like know where he's coming from. You should just try to learn. I don't even know how to explain it. It's like a skill, definitely. Like, I've learned how to hear things better over time. If you just give someone a headset, they're not going to instantly be able to hear like footsteps and understand where the enemy is coming from. But if you do have a good headset, you should just try to learn how to sound whore as much as possible. I don't even really know how to learn about how to do it, just because it just happened like kind of naturally as I played throughout the years. But just focus on footsteps and try to learn where the enemies are coming from, and then hopefully that'll become like second nature over time. The last thing I want to say is that when you die, don't make excuses. I know everyone does this. When they die, they want to look for reasons why it wasn't their fault or why they didn't die. But if you look at your deaths as an opportunity to learn, you try to see why you died and then try to fix that mistake, especially if it's a common mistake. If you notice like half your deaths in one game are because of one thing, if you fix that mistake and then you stop doing whatever that mistake was, you're going to limit your deaths massively in the game. So look at each death as a learning opportunity, and you will improve as a player. And that like goes for any game. If you use your deaths as a learning opportunity, you will get better. That's going to be it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed this video, a like rating is appreciated, and if you would like to see more World War II content from me, consider subscribing. Thanks for watching.
Kill confirmed. Kill confirmed.